Okay, finally. It's been a little bit of a fuck around because for some reason I thought it'd be fun to try a different platform again. Episode of One Chapter Wonder, it's episode 5. We've done 4 of these things so far. At the end of the day, it's going to be 5, which is just like nuts to me. I thought it would be fun to try a different medium to what we normally do. So instead of being on Twitch, where I have everything set up and I have all my settings and stuff that I can play with, I thought, hey, let's play on YouTube. And it's gone about as well as you would expect. So, excuse me while I get a little bit more organized. Chipmunk, you hung around, seriously. Welcome to the stream. It always feels wrong calling it a stream when it's not on Twitch, all right? So things look a little different because for some reason YouTube puts it in a different aspect ratio. Right, yeah, no, it was a tough time and I don't quite understand how YouTube does its live thing. Nathan, my dude, how you going? I'm so glad that you could finally catch one of these again. It's always a plus when you can jump in, dude. How's it been going? I hope everything has been working out well for you. I am really freaking excited for the readings today. One is Pomegranate by Nicole Scarano, which I read while I was on holidays, and I really, really enjoyed it. So when she submitted it for this show, I was just like, fuck yes. I get to fangirl about like one of my favorite holiday reads of this year on my show. So that's cool. The second one that we're doing today is Tavern by Deston J. Munden. Again, I'm so sorry, you guys, if I get your names wrong. I am awful at pronouncing names and Twitch handles and everything. And then we have, where have I gone? Then we're reading The Last Marines by Lawrence N. Oliver. So we've got fantasy, and sci-fi today, which is really, really exciting. Apart from that, it's just been getting all these beautiful arcs out to all my gorgeous reviewers. The reviews for Her Crown of Fire are now starting to come in, which is really, really frightening. I got a 4-star review the other day, which was amazing. Like probably one of the best reviews I've ever read, and it was about my book. But like the way she wrote the book did not sound like it was my book. Like I was reading the review and I'm like, wowee, this book sounds really, really good. Whose is it? Would that be your suggestion for your reading, Nathan? Because I have not even started trying to follow up that author on getting copyright to read her book, permission to read her book, so I don't violate copyright. And oh my God, don't start talking to me about copyright because that has been my whole fucking week at work. I reckon we're just going to jump straight into it. We've got a couple of people. Yay! That's good. I thought this new format might throw a couple of people off, so I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of time to come in. But you guys know what this show is about. We just hang out and read books, and yeah, mainly it's for the recording, so the authors can go back and watch the recording. I can totally adult today. It has been sorry. It has been an interesting 24 hours. Just shit at work, which you would have seen if you're on my Twitter. And then D&D last night, which was pretty intense and insane. And then last night, middle of the night, had some possible issues that was kind of like, do we go to the hospital or do we just like see how you go? And there are still 2 of us living in this house, so it worked out in the end. But but I'm a little bit sleepy and a little bit off my game today. So if I stumble, if I apparently choke on my tea because I'm a numpty, I do apologize. Yeah, see, it was Javi, who is what's his name? Probs. That is Probs, not a robot. But we weren't sure if you were dying, hence why we didn't take you. Okay, so boy, oh boy, oh boy. Dang it, The Last Marines has a really cool cover, and as far as I know, I can't actually put any overlays on Twitch. I'll find a way, Mr. Oliver, so that everyone can see a fantastic cover. All right, I think we're going to start off with Pomegranate because it's just really exciting. And it's a nice little amount. Exactly, Nathan. It's easy to know who you are. You keep your name the same. No, I know who you are. What about on Twitch? What's this? I feel like I should have done this on Twitch, but it's all good. It'll upload straight away. That's something. And I'm trying things. I'm testing things. The main thing is the books will get read. There will be a recording. It's all good. Okay. So we're going to bring that off. And we're going to jump into the first chapter of Pomegranate, which I'm really, really excited for. So it is this is one of our first fantasies. Okay. All legends are born out of truth. All fairy tales have slivers of facts buried in their history, and what today is known as merely myth and foolishness was once very real. As stories are passed down through time from one generation to the next, facts are exaggerated and omitted until what was once a simple story becomes fantasy. But if you dig deep enough, all legends have a beginning, and while many tales are rooted in truth, there is one that's true story has all been but forgotten. In the beginning, legend tells us that Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades were brothers who overthrew the first gods, their Titan parents, and took the world for themselves. By drawing lots, Zeus, king of the gods, became ruler of the skies. Brave Poseidon drew the lot of the seas, but wicked Hades was tricked into drawing the lot of the underworld, where he became the most feared and hated of the gods. This is merely legend, though. The truth is very different. Zeus and Poseidon were indeed brothers who overthrew their parents after their power-lusting father Cronus began to hunt down his own children. They split the world as they saw fit, Zeus with the sky and Poseidon with the seas. The underworld, though, ruled itself. Sealed off from the rest of the world, it was greatly feared, even by the gods. For in the days when Cronus ruled, the Titans built themselves a great fortress in between heaven and hell. The fortress possessed two great doors on either side of its vastness, one opening on Elysium and the other on Tartarus and the underworld. From the beginning of time, the underworld did its own bidding, but one Titan, mighty yet too proud, strode through the door to Tartarus, believing he had the power to subdue the beast called Hell. He would step over the threshold of Hell destined never to return, for in the bowels of the deep there are god-killers, and they ripped him to shreds. A great panic spread over the Titans. If the underworld could claim one of their greatest, who then would be safe? Cronus felt the weight of fear rippling through his fortress and called upon his brothers. Joined together as one, Cronus and the Titans sealed the great door to Tartarus shut. Separated from the land of the living by the river Styx, and now sealed off from the Titan fortress by the great door, the underworld was left to its seclusion. Cronus vowed that it would stay that way, sealed for all eternity until the universe saw fit to birth a child of power, power meant for the darkness that lurked just beyond the stone. He declared that he who would one day break the seal of the great door would be bound to the underworld and for all eternity keep it at bay as the great door once did. And the fury that was once Hell's would be his to unleash. Over the next centuries, Titans would present themselves and their children to the great door, in the hopes that they were the powerful one, but the door still refused to give way. Not a shiver, not a groan, sealed. And as time wore on, fewer and fewer Titans visited the door in hopes of grandeur, until finally the door stood solemn and alone, forgotten. Centuries later, the Titans would fall to Zeus and Poseidon in the great war that nearly destroyed Earth. It left the once great Titan fortress in empty ruins, and the new gods made for themselves a new home on Mount Olympus. Yet the great door still remained shut tight. The Olympians possessed a grave fear of the underworld, and even though there was the promise of power to he broke the seal, none of the new gods ventured down to the ruins of Titan fortress to test their strength against the door. But as for Hades, the third brother of legend, in the beginning Hades was not even a god, but rather an immortal of Olympus. Once a mortal of earth, Hades had so pleased the god that life among them was granted. On Mount Olympus, Hades' eternal youth was that of pure beauty, said to have rivaled the beauty of Aphrodite herself. All were captivated by the splendor that was Hades, but Zeus most of all, for Zeus loved her. Yes, Paradox, we're on YouTube today. We're reading from Pomegranate by Nicole Scarano at the moment, which is a fantasy which you should really like. Hades' eyes snapped open, her heart slamming against the walls of her chest. She could hear the blood rushing through her ears and feel the bumps on her arms rise in a cold chill. Her breath was labored, body frozen stiff. Fear was the best way to describe it, and then again, it wasn't. Hades had been harshly jolted out of a deep sleep by a wave of alarming panic that would have stilled the heart of any other, but not her. She loved this feeling. She loved the cold that rushed over her skin, loved the deafening sound her heart made as it crashed against her ribs. She loved how no matter what she had been doing, this paralyzing rush made it completely irrelevant. She loved this sheer terrifying panic, for it meant one thing. A god had entered her presence, and she knew exactly which one it was. Hades lay in her bed silent and still, letting her heart slow and her skin forget the cold shivers. Her deep, pomegranate red hair lay over her white bed sheets like blood spilling over an altar. Her full lips clenched tight while her dark blue eyes stared at the ceiling, growing accustomed to the night. When the corners of her ceiling became visible, she shifted her eyes around the room. Her furniture rose in the darkness like great beasts. The sheer curtains flapped in the night breeze like demons come to take her. But then the eyes fell to the broad shadow blocking the moonlight. He stood in the dark, his huge frame covering the entire opening that was her window. He was tall, so very tall, with shoulders so smooth and so broad could not help but stare in awe. His skin taut and firmly stretched over muscles only gods could possess. His large arms were folded against his chest, and the moonlight danced over his short blonde hair as he gazed outside, his bare back facing her. Hades' eyes drank in the sight of him as if he were water in the desert sand. Slowly pushing the sheets from her body and swinging her bare feet to the floor, she silently moved towards him, the swing of her hips causing her gown to swish gracefully around her ankles. Ankles, not her ankles. Sliding behind him, her slender arm slipped around his waist. His back felt warm as she pulled him close, her fingers tracing a path over his skin until they came to a rest on his chiseled chest. Without a word, massive hands folded over hers and they stood pressed together, utterly silent, letting the night air wash over their faces. "What's troubling you?" she ventured, her soft voice breaking the silence. He ignored her, though, his jaw set in a harsh line as he stared out into the darkness. Craning her neck around his mountain of a shoulder, she stared at him, her cheek resting on the warm flesh of his arm. But even with her gaze boring into him, Zeus remained silent, and so, with an almost imperceptible sigh, Hades squeezed his hand, reminding him that she was still waiting on an answer. By all that was good on Olympus, he was beautiful. "There is nothing troubling me," he spoke into the night, an automatic response to her gentle prodding. "Every time you stand at this window, your heart is heavy with something," she said, her lips murmuring the word into his bicep. "You know me too well," he replied, the corners of his mouth turning up as he finally turned his gaze to hers. He looked at her for a long moment before squeezing her hands lovingly, as his eyes wandered back to the night outside her window. "Well?" Hades asked, her gaze unwavering. "The god's grumbling is growing louder. It's becoming harder to ignore," he answered finally, his chest slightly deflating as he let out the air in his lungs. "What grumbling?" Hades asked, her brow furrowed. "Against you," Zeus answered. "For decades they have kept silent, but no more." Hades let go of Zeus and backed up. Finding her bed with the back of her legs, she sank to the satin, watching Zeus turn his hulking body around to face her. "You are not a god, my love." "I know that. They do too. They always have. Why now do they decide to grumble?" "Because," Zeus's faces fell. The words he were about to utter were bile. The words he were about to utter were bile. "They will not have an immortal as queen. Their grumbling betrays what the council's final decision will be. Only a goddess will be accepted as the queen of Olympus, and all my love for you will not change that." "Queen," was the only word Hades managed to get past her lips. "You would automatically become queen by marriage." "Marriage," she uttered, still not able to find the words to speak in full sentences. "Yes," Zeus laughed a little. "You did know this is what I wanted." "Yes," she struggled to find her tongue. "I had hoped." "Hades," he said, her name tasting of honey on his lips. "My beautiful Hades, I have wanted to wed you for decades. But if the god's grumbling grows much louder, the council could forbid it. They can do that. They can try. But you are Zeus, their king. And the last time a king defied his council and his family, his children overthrew him in a great war that almost destroyed Earth." Hades opened her mouth to say something but couldn't find the words. She could barely wrap her mind around what he was saying. The pit of her stomach churned like one of Poseidon's storms. She loved this man with all of her soul, and now he stood in front of her speaking of queens, councils, and fallen gods, and that somehow they had a say over her love. "I don't want to be queen," she whispered faintly into the night air. "I just want you." "Unfortunately, to marry me is to become queen," he said, but seeing concern marring her beautiful face, added, "But nothing is certain. The council has not spoken, and I may yet be able to sway their decision." Zeus moved towards the bed, covering the distance in one massive step. He reached out and scooped her up, folding her into his powerful arms before he too sank to a seat. His skin was warm against hers, and Hades could feel the massive pumping of his heart. It was strong and rhythmic, its steadiness comforting. She pressed her head on his chest and listened to the blood coursing through his veins. "Make sure you tell them that I do not want to be their queen," she said, her voice barely audible. "I just want you." Zeus placed his massive hand gently on the back of her head, pulling her closer. "I know," was all he could manage to whisper back. "I know." Zeus watched out the window as the fiery rays of light began flickering the sky as the great sun blinked awake. Hades had fallen asleep hours ago, but Zeus had remained awake, staring out of the window, cradling the beautiful red-haired woman. His eyes remained unblinking as the dark sky turned pink. The world was so quiet as all of Olympus and all of Earth slept. Even Hades was peaceful in her slumber. Zeus enjoyed the silence. His body would become still like a statue, muscles frozen, eyes open wide. The problems of the world almost faded away in moments like these. Moments where he let everything disappear, and in his solitude, the only thing he was aware of was the slight rising and falling of Hades' breath, and the pitch-black sky being set on fire. The fire started out as sparks, and these sparks were a reminder to him that the end to his solitude was fast approaching, that his rigid stillness with the red-haired girl would be disrupted. He hated when these moments ended, because if the council went against him, he might never have this silent perfection again. I love it. The sun's arms stretched higher into the sky, causing the shadows to run and hide in fear. Zeus's eyes finally blinked, starting a chain reaction of movement that rippled through his body. He stood to his feet, still cradling Hades in his massive arms, and in a few large but silent steps made his way from the foot of her bed to the head ever so gently, setting her still sleeping figure down. He brushed her red hair from her face, letting his fingertips brush lovingly against her cheeks before pulling the white satin sheet over her perfectly shaped body. Zeus straightened up to his full hulking height, gazing at Hades, printing a permanent picture of her peaceful face in his mind, and then before she could wake, he was gone. Good morning, Lawrence. How you doing? And Paradox and Sunfire Salvager. Welcome. Zeus walked through the empty corridors that had grown out of the very stones of Mount Olympus. He was surprisingly silent despite his hulking weight and heavy steps, and as he rounded every corner, it was as if the hallways had never even been disturbed. He eventually came to two massive doors on the opposite side of the council chambers and planted his hands firmly on either side. His muscles writhed under his skin as he pushed, the hinges creaking with their weight as they opened and continued until they had swung shut with a thud. When the Olympians had first come to the mountain, it was nothing but a striking peak in the clouds, but the moment Zeus and Poseidon had set foot on the stone, Mount Olympus began to creak and strain beneath them before growing up further towards the sun. At first it made no sense to the two young brothers why the stone at this very moment had begun to change its height, but eventual forms began to take shape. Thus the home of the Olympians were grown from the very mountain on which it now stood. No tools and no manpower, just smooth, solid, continuous stone. It had emerged from the ground with the council chambers being the highest point, which was circled by the ring of the gods' residence, which then in turn were circled by the residence of the immortals. Hades' room was on the opposite side of the council chambers from his, which wasn't far, but at the moment it might as well have been at the bottom of the sea. Inside Zeus's room, the curtains were drawn, leaving it as dark as it had been when he left hours before. His mighty thunderbolt still lay propped up against the wall where he had laid it to rest. It didn't look like much, the long, jagged spear of an old, worn metal, the likes unknown to mankind. Its slightly zigzagging body and rough dark grey surface gave off the appearance of shoddy craftsmanship, but the pure electric power it possessed was no careless matter. In his hands, the old metal was great and terrible. That is a 5 out of 7 line. That's amazing. Yes, this is a gender-swapped version, Nathan, so Hades is a female. She is a woman. She's gonna fuck shit up. Hello, brother. A deep voice shattered the silence, causing Zeus to turn around with a jolt. Is that a play because he's the god of lightning? Never mind. There in the corner, with his feet casually propped up on a table and his tall, bronze-colored, rusting, three-pronged trident in hand, sat Poseidon. He was tall like Zeus, but not as hulking. He was a lean man with long muscles, long arms, and a long torso. His hair was a darker blonde than his brother's, and unlike Zeus's clean shave, Poseidon sported dirty blonde scruff on his handsome face. His sea-green eyes stared right into Zeus's blue. "What are you doing here?" Zeus asked, startled by his brother's intrusion. It always unnerved him how his slender brother could catch him off guard. Not one person, be it god or man, could sneak up on Zeus save his brother. It always irritated him, and this morning was no exception to that. "I have heard rumors, brother," Poseidon said, looking at his brother as he slowly spun the end of his unearthly metal trident on the ground. "Rumors about the red-haired woman. Hades does not concern you," Zeus retorted. "She does when it involves my brother, and the grave mistake he is about to make," Poseidon continued, still twisting his trident. It was eerie how his hand spun the weapon, threatening without an actual threat. "Hera is to be queen, Zeus," he continued. "I'm going to make sure of it." Poseidon stopped twisting his trident, gripping it tight. "My sister is a great goddess. She will not be subjected to your immortal." He pulled his legs off the table and stood to his feet, stretching to his full, lean height. "The rumors about the red-haired girl best not be true. My sister will not be humiliated. If she is, I'll be very angry. And I will not be the only one." Poseidon strode towards Zeus, striking his trident on the ground like a massive walking stick, the ringing of metal striking stone echoing throughout the room. Poseidon clasped the back of Zeus's neck with his free hand and pulled his brother's head towards him, kissing Zeus on the cheek, a gesture that was neither friendly nor loving. The two stared at each other, eyes wide, seeing which would blink first. Neither did. The look in Poseidon's green eyes unnerved Zeus, though, so he stepped back, forcing Poseidon's hand to fall limply to his side. The corners of Poseidon's mouth curved up. "I'll see you at the council, brother." Poseidon's words were a cross between honey and vinegar as he hoisted his trident into the air. His long legs carried him to the heavy doors, his long, sinewy arm pulling one of them open just long enough for his lean figure to slip out, leaving Zeus standing alone in the dark room, stone-faced and unsettled. Sorry. The birds are just having a moment. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you very much, dude. I'm struggling with a little bit of a headache this morning. I've had a sinus headache under here, so I'm just trying really to ignore it. If I seem a little off, I'm really sorry. Crack! A flash of golden lightning ripped through the air. Hades put her brush down and went to her window. Another flash tore through the morning silence. Lightning shot from one cloud to another, setting ablaze the morning sky with an unholy light. Cloud-to-cloud lightning always meant Zeus was angry. Never be sorry for the birds. I'm always sorry for the birds. Hades sighed and left her room knowing where he would be. There was a cliff on the edge of Mount Olympus, a length below the top on which the gods had built their lives, where Zeus went when he required solitude. This particular cliff offered an impressive view of the earth below, and on days where the sun was shy, the clouds completely covered it in mist and fog, rendering it non-existent. Zeus had claimed this little spot of rock as his own, and she was the only other person on Olympus that knew it was even there. Hades wandered through the open corridors, her dress and hair billowing about in the morning breeze. She took the quickest route out of the buildings to the open green fields that ran long and rolling, only to end abruptly at the mountain's edge, where they dropped off suddenly, leaving nothing but air and a long plunge down towards the earth. Excuse me. Out here in the static open air, the cracks of the lightning were singeing the sky with an acrid smell. They were in fact so close that she could reach up and shove her hand straight into the bolts, but she didn't. No. One time she'd been out in the fields with Zeus during a lightning storm, watching as he had reached up and put his hand into the flash. The electric jolt that had ripped through the air after that was terrifying, anchoring her feet fast to the ground, but Zeus had only laughed and then proceeded to grab her hand and thrust it into the light. Where's the consent? The shock of the lightning jerked through her, rushing over her skin like icy needles, paralyzing her. Her hand had gone numb after that incident, and it took days for her to wash the burning smell from her singed hair, and that was with her hand in Zeus's. She would never dare touch the light on her own, so Hades let the lightning crack and scream close above her head as she crossed the field to the edge of the mountain, letting the charged static air tickle her skin. Reaching the edge, Hades peered over the rocks. There, far below, just as she expected, sat Zeus, his broad back hunched over. Another bolt of lightning shattered the silence so close to Hades' head that she jumped, sucking her breath in sharply. Hades didn't mind being so close to lightning, but when she could feel the heat of the bolts against her skin and the ringing was left in her ear, she felt nervous without Zeus. Well, at least he's not there to shove your hand in it. So pulling her dress above her knees, she began her descent. Holding tight to the jagged rocks, she climbed, feeling with her bare feet for the next foothold. Pebbles and dirt fell about her fingers until her feet hit the solid rock of Zeus's cliff. Oh, sorry, my nose is... so good. Sinus infections are really fun, y'all. Hades let go of her grip and wiped her hands together, sending dirt falling from her palms. Despite the noise she made coming down, Zeus still had not moved. She had always been amazed how still he could be. His deep blue eyes would not blink. His muscles would not even flinch. It was like he was dead stone, a statue, save for the intense beating of his strong heart. Hades reached out her hand and rested it on his back, impossibly still and firm. Hades ran her hand over his shoulder and rested it on his chest. She felt the thud of his heart, the slight rise and fall of his breathing chest, the warmth of his burning skin, the only sign that life still coursed through his veins. Lightning struck so close this time it practically blinded her. She took her hands off Zeus and rubbed her eyes, trying to rid them of the white patches in her vision. It was then Zeus finally moved, reaching his hand up towards her. Her hand was so small in his as he pulled her to the ground next to him. Hades swung her legs over the cliff and looked down. It was such a long way down from here. It always made her a little dizzy, but the good kind of dizzy. The kind that exhilarated you, letting you know how incredible it was to be alive. It was that feeling of being overwhelmed by something so treacherously beautiful that attracted Zeus to this spot. That and the fact that in all their years here, Hades was the only one who had actually figured out it was here, which, to be honest, didn't bother him. Poseidon threatened me, he said, his voice as deep as the rumbling thunder coming from the clouds above. Seeing her eyebrows lift in worry, he added, more like a threat for a threat. He loves his sister. He turned to face Hades and brushed his thumb over her eyebrows, bringing them back down to normal. If he is against you, then so is the council. So that's it, Hades asked, pulling her face from his hands. Just like that, our decades are rendered inconsequential. Zeus opened his mouth, but found he wasn't sure how to answer her. He took a deep breath, letting the air rush forcefully into his lungs. You are king. Can't you bend the rules a little? Hades asked. Zeus shifted his head and raised his eyebrows in a question. Make Hera a political queen, Hades explained. That is all Poseidon wants, right? For his sister to be in a position of power, you could make her queen and your equal without marriage, and that will satisfy them all. Then we wouldn't have to change, Hades said, taking his hand. I cannot just make her a queen. Why not? Because that would cause a divide in power, Zeus explained. Queen by marriage keeps Olympus united. If I did what you asked, the gods would choose sides and power could end up splitting down the middle. I cannot just give Hera that kind of power. She is Poseidon's sister, and therefore will side with him over me, Zeus said, his voice agitated. Another stroke of lightning punctuated his words. So you pick power over me? She asked, her voice barely audible. Hades, he said, pushing his fingers through hers. There's more to it than that. I have responsibilities. His voice trailed off, lost in the cracks of the cloud storm. I know, Hades said, choking back tears. I just thought you would have fought harder. And that was the first chapter of Pomegranate by Nicole Scarano. When this video goes up, I will go back and put buy links into all the books and stuff. So how do we think this YouTuber's experiment is working out so far? Because I really, really miss my screens on Twitch. I do, because then I don't have to wipe my nose on camera. Can you have chapter 2? Chipmunk, I'll ask Nicole if she wants to pop in the second chapter for the show, and we can do another chapter one day. Maybe I'll just do the audiobook for her if she wants it. Okay. Yeah, I do miss my Twitch, Nathan. I really, really do. But I probably can't move over halfway through, right? That would be a really gronk thing to do. I really miss being able to hide behind my screens and being able to mute myself. You reckon I should do audios? Well, I do have I actually have an audition coming up that I have to film this weekend. Um, I'm auditioning as a narrator for the Queensland Narration Service, which is a volunteer service that provides readings for vision impaired people. So that could be really, really fun. Will I include angles on the audiobook? Angles? Angels? What did I say? I said something wrong, didn't I? Yeah, so that could be really cool. Like it would I'd then be, an actual narrator. Oh, and good morning, Luigi. How you doing? Um, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of Google Hangouts, but that is a brilliant idea. I'll definitely look into it. Okay, I'm so excited for the next one. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. And Sunfire Salvager, you're going to love it. It's Tavern by Deston J. Munden. Okay, I'm excited. My face hurts, but I'm excited. So we're going to do it. All right. What are we talking about? Okay. You guys are just like, you've got like nice, even spaced chapters for me. And I really like it. Is there like, what's this button do? I'm just clicking things now on YouTube because I don't know how any of this works. This one is lit, but I'm biased because my friend wrote it. That's fine. It's okay to be biased if you're like supporting your friend, because that's the best kind of bias. Good morning, Tier Gamer. How you doing? You said angles rather than ankles at one point. Oh, yes, I did. He looked at her angles. Okay. I do want to just keep stuff moving this morning because I don't know at what point this is all going to, like the sinus headache is going to emerge. Because it did so yesterday while I was at work and it was awful. Why did you open up there, Google Docs? Yeah, I'm so excited for this. So, okay, sorry, I read a little bit. I'm prepared. I'm so not. You guys know I'm never prepared. All right. This is chapter 1 of Tavern. Tavern. Okay. This is chapter 1 of Tavern. Chapter 1, Backbone. Zell was born without a backbone. At least, that was what he thought about this cold night. Tonight turned out to be quite the adversary for him. The moons, Yari, Mari, and Aoi, hung in the black star-filled sky, spraying it with hues of red, blue, and yellow from their prismatic light. The cold winter air howled against his aching bones. It, at least, smelled crisp and tasted of a rare freshness found in a city, and made Zell feel welcomed. Rune-forged torchlights burned on either side of the yellowed winding cobblestone street, setting them aglow with the warm magical sheen. I already fucking love this. For many of the inhabitants, this was a normal, cool night. For Zell, born in the warm-weathered forest halfway across Daggarth, the weather was a little too cold for his liking. He appreciated it all the same, even between the shivers caught in his muscles. The only thing he wished for right now was that he had brought a coat or at least something a bit warmer to wear. Years ago, he would have more than likely frozen to death. Thank you. Okay, Paradox, thank you. Enjoy your stuff for today. Zell walked down the street, his hands stuffed in his large sleeves for warmth. Thankfully, he had sense enough to choose his thick grey woolen robe over one of his thinner, more fashionable coats. Where he obviously had leave of his senses was when he decided to wear straw sandals. He hated shoes. They were evil and uncomfortable things created by silly men. He did own plenty of pairs of boots and shoes, however, that he didn't want to throw into a fire. Still, when given the choice, he would go barefoot everywhere, out of comfort and out of necessity. As the saying in the shroud went, every flower had its own petals. In the shroud of leaves, this little quirk wouldn't have mattered. I wonder how the weather's there now, he thought. No, he left home and left for a good reason, even if he missed the weather and the company he shared there. Ladad, this wondrous and complex metropolis, was his home now. I'm doing my best with all the names, but I have legitimately never read this before, so I'm really sorry for the mispronunciation of all the names, Deston. I'm so sorry. Duke Talborn and his six sons governed the largest city on this side of the world. The very thought of its immense size still choked Zell. This large city was broken up into 6 districts: port, guard, commoner, crafter, merchant, and military, from the outer ring to the inner circle, respectively, ending with the castle Oremlem. Okay, that makes me feel better, dear. Each of the Talborn sons governed over one ring of the city. Often, Zell wondered if he built the city around the suns or the suns around the city. Given the city was new compared to most of the world, he assumed it was the former. Despite the size, walking from one district to the next was easy as following the main roads. Getting to a specific shop, your favorite inn, or even to your home was where the difficulty began. Roads wove together like the silk threads of a spider never happy with the size of its web. Yes. Boss line. New places often sprung up, and construction was a common thing in some areas. A traveller could depart for a year and come back to the city and have no clue where to go. As the city grew, so did crime. Danger festered in those small cracks made from Ladad's growing pains. The side roads and the alleys weren't as safe as the rulers believe. I love it. I love this. I love this. Zell knew this from experience. He touched his cheek, feeling a deep scar against his skin. He knew he had to be careful down these dark paths, away from the impressive rune-forged torches. So cool. A couple of years ago, he had learned that lesson the hard way. Born without a backbone. The words echoed in his head as he walked through the gate from the merchant to the crafter district where he lived. His feet remembered each turn, knew each loose stone underfoot as the light's glow grew dimmer and dimmer. Soon, Zell began to navigate by the lights leaking from the cracks under every door, or the occasional candle on a windowsill. He listened to the footsteps, the trotting of horses against the road, and the clattering of men and women closing and locking their doors. Zell tapped the end of his twisted wooden staff in rhythm to the things he heard and remembered. His sense tingled with every detail. Something was different. Tonight, someone followed him. Zell chalked it up as his own brand of cautious paranoia at first. Never too safe, he told himself. Good way to get a knife in the belly thinking you're safe at all times. He tried to convince himself otherwise, though. They're just going home like you. Ain't nothing to worry about. Today's workday at the temple was a long one, and perhaps fatigue played tricks on him. No, that wasn't it. His optimism dipped more and more as he slowed his pace. He was being followed, not a doubt in his mind. Ugh, Xiao's nails, Zell growled, heart pounding in his chest. He just wanted to go home. Was that too much to ask? There was at least 4 of them. Their soft-soled boots made a low sound against the whistle of the winter's wind and the cobblestone underfoot. Each of them kept their breathing low and controlled, only one giving it away with a higher exhale than the rest. Local thugs, then. Maybe from a colder place. No, they're from here. The city guards would have given it away. They often had this look on their face when they saw an outsider, especially one out this late at night. These weren't professionals. Zell knew professionals. More likely street thugs. Zell gave a thin, rueful smile. He just wanted to go home. He had such a mood. Keep it down, boy. Don't give it away, Zell hummed through a couple of bard songs to calm himself down. He scratched the side of his jaw, feeling the coarse black hair of his beard against his fingernails. His large hand tightened against his staff as he leaned against it. They didn't know everything about him. The hood of his robe covered his face, and its length covered his stocky arms and legs. Robes tended to make someone look bigger or smaller than they were. They could only assume that a healer from the Temple of Zhao was a decrepit old man or frail young boy. With a little luck, he could take them. A blossom of fear rose in his chest. Subconsciously, he touched the side of his jaw where an old broken tooth was. Sometimes old wounds never healed. He remembered. He always remembered. Zell allowed them to follow him through the finer parts of the crafter district first, by the grandiose workshops of the best carpenters, artists, tailors, blacksmiths, and armourers of the cities. The rich crafters didn't like surprises, given that they worked in the late of the night. Zell felt the burning of Bright Claw's forge before he even saw the big red glow in the middle of the plaza. So cool. Warmth rolled over his chest and hands as he approached the massive stone well bellowing fire. Every torchlight in the city claimed this fire as their father, yet none shined as brightly. No matter sunlight, moonlight, rain, or snow, the forge stayed alive even after its maker died hundreds of years ago. The lineage of the forge maker, known now as the Bright Claws, survived still. Maybe, after this, he should thank them. Love it. I'm so excited right now. He walked around the forge to a long wooden bench by a small oak tree. He sat down, warming his fingers and watching the embers of the forge crack into the air. Underneath that, he listened to his pursuers stop in confusion. Zell saw them from the corner of his eye, now in a well-lit area. The leader stood just outside of the edge of the light, hugging the shadows. They didn't expect an extra stop. They aren't new to this, they're new to being caught. Zell leaned against his staff again, his fingertips laced on the twisted top. Born without a backbone. The words echoed again as his heart raced. Old times yet not too long ago lingered in his head. He swallowed hard. Swallowed hard, not swallowed his heart. This was as good a night as any to get mugged. I love this guy. From the corner of his eye, he saw what Zell assumed to be the leader regaining his composure. He tried, to his credit, to slide from sight. Alas, it was too slow. In that second, Zell had already processed most of his appearance. He was a lanky man in brown mercenary leathers and a dark-coloured sash around his left arm. Pale-skinned, bald, a scar on his left cheek, rough, light-coloured stubble on his chin, and a few broken teeth in a row of crooked yellow. Classic. Zell respected him for that. Everybody liked a person that looked their part. Excuse me, I'm just going to buy this book really quick. I'm just going to open up. Yeah, I'll do it after the stream. Figured we talked before things got ugly. It's rude not to, you know. Zell kept the volume of his voice just a thread above the wind and the snapping of coals. He never liked his own voice. Too deep, too grumbly, and words just got caught between his teeth and his tongue. At his best, he sounded like a dock worker from the ports. I will adjust my voice for him accordingly. At his worst, he sounded very much like a thug himself. Either way, he made himself priestly enough with threads of commoner and fatherly tones. He had his part to play. Can you give a guy a break? Tell me who hired you, mate. Zell shifted his weight in the hard bench as though to get comfortable. In truth, nerves made him squirm. He hoped that talking would iron those out. That's how I operate too. The men didn't respond. They just stood in the shadows with the awkwardness of a criminal court. They wouldn't attack in the open like this. They knew he lived in a darker, more appropriate place to stab or bludgeon someone to death. Nothing, Zell shrugged. Thought I'd try at least. Forcing himself to relax, he pulled a wineskin from his side. His friends always told him he needed to stay hydrated. Such a mood, right? Such a mood. He uncorked the top with his teeth, spat the corded cork into his lap and took a long drink. The liquid was nothing special, just cold water mixed with some honey and a bit of mint. Nothing hard. People didn't need to know that. Helped with his look. The tough guy persona. For now, though, he was just thirsty. Yeah, just gonna stand there and let a man ramble. That's rude. You might want to hear what I have to say next. I know why you're here. You're not fooling nobody. He did know what was going on. It was the only thing that made sense. Muggings just happened. They didn't wait. This was a hired hit. It's about the poisonings today, Zell realized with a remarkable amount of amusement. At the glass gardens, the ones that I've been fixing all day. Can't be anything else. I was just doing my job, mate. Just doing my job. If I crossed some sort of boundary, I didn't know. Still, last chance. If I get out from this spot and go down that street where I know your men, your savages really are, I'm going to break their faces and your reputation. Probably not in that order, but guaranteed. Nothing, again. Just stop before you embarrass yourself. He couldn't have dropped more clues to walk away from this if he had wrapped them up and put a pretty bow on them. Zell drained the rest of his wineskin, getting to his favourite part at the bottom where everything tasted sweeter. After which he rose and headed back home. He swore the men stopped following. Maybe they had picked up their common sense somewhere in the garbage. Sizing up a mark was important to all of his jobs, as a healer, as a tavern owner, and, well, his other occupation. So as a result, he often let people do the same for him, free of charge. He just didn't make it easy for them. They usually got it wrong the first time, underestimated him the second, and never had a chance the third time. Boss. Perhaps one day somebody would think to use their eyes. A normal priest didn't wear gold rings on their fingers. They didn't own a staff of this quality, nor were they usually as big as he was. They saw what they wanted to see. Good way to get yourself killed or caught. The spectating game stopped the moment that Zell turned into his street, the Rugged Walk. What type of uncouth barbarian tries to beat up a man near his home? Bloody rude ones, apparently. They lined up in the narrow street, shoulder to shoulder, in long, dark cloaks that touched their feet. Zell eyed the weapons poking out from their sleeves and grasped tightly at their hands. Blunt weapons. Good. That meant that the person who sent them didn't send assassins, just thugs to silence him. Tonbows did bother him, though. Made of redwood as hard as steel with the weight as light as a training sword. Tonbows... Tonbos? I'm going to say tonbows, I think. We'll see how we go. Were a favourite among bruisers and enforcers. Zell touched the back of his neck, feeling the scarring on his spine. A cold memory surfaced in a brief flash on his head, and he lost his confidence for a moment. He felt his throat go dry, his mind blank, and his palms clam up. Born without a backbone, his conscience echoed again. Torn bows? Okay. Thank you so much. Torn bows. This time he fought back. You've grown past that. Confidence never came in full for him. Zell often wondered if it did for anyone. Now we can talk. The bald man circled around him, grinning. Amazing how eager he was to talk now that he had all his boys. On my terms, never yours. He wasn't a large man, just tall with a muscular frame that filled his leathers well. The light of the forge still lingered behind him, giving Zell a better look at his face. Not a good-looking fellow, to say the least. His nose sat in a crooked line on his face, his eyes bright with violence. Those those yellow crooked teeth were set in an unsettling smile on his slanted, uneven jaw. A bit of drool dribbled against the man's unevenly cut beard. No doubt this was his favourite part. My name's Bradus Gillian, and we're here to bloody you up, healer. Somebody don't like you, brother, and that's a shame. Is it, though? Zell said. He found himself falling into his own character, one truer and more visceral. His own accent flared. I reckon you didn't say no to the money. Zell knew people who loved their job. Nothing wrong with that, of course. A man had a right to love what he did. Bradus. Bradus. It's good to repeat someone's name when you meet him. Do I know you from somewhere? Might that you do. Bradus brandished his torn bow from his side. His weapon appeared larger than his comrades', thicker and made of a different redwood to the others. A prized possession. No mistaking that look in his burnt orange eyes as he scanned the length of his weapon in adoration. The only thing he ever loved, Zell realized. Soldiers often cared for their weapons. Zell respected that. Or he would have respected it in broad daylight. Where do you want to start first? My boys here think that I'm good at breaking legs. Always need to practice on other limbs, you know. Right, maybe I should have gotten you talking. Now you're never going to shut that big mouth. Zell only heard the torn bow? Yep. Zell only heard the torn bow sailing through the air. Instincts took over. He blocked the attack low with his staff, both hands firm. Bradder stared down for a second, confused on why his ears didn't meet with the satisfying crunch of a man's knees. He had given no indications of an attack, just acted, as did Zell. It didn't make sense to him. Zell saw it on his face. A Shao priest never fought, despite being the disciples of what half the world thought of as the god of chaos. Zell found an immense pleasure as it struck them. The temple often employed outside help for cases they couldn't fix with their own magic, often for pay. Zell wasn't the type to ask for money from the temple. He just did it. It didn't make him a priest in the traditional sense. Devout to the cause, but not a priest. Zell tossed back his hood. Should have done your research, mate. Zelnath of the Gnarled Root clan was an orc. Oh my god, this is so exciting. This is so cool. No, Dave, tell them to rack off. You're listening to this. Very rarely did an orc from any tribe deal with worldly events unless they were forced into the fray. Until the last few centuries when the Tuscan Ring was created, the tribes only thought about fighting themselves and everything else on their continent. Now, with the aid of that high council, had they begun becoming part of the world. There were only about 50 in the city, most red-skinned red rivers, brown-skinned earthwalkers, or the occasional bright green blood roars. The dark green and brown-skinned gnarled root, the most secluded of the orc clans, never showed up in cities or even outside of the Shroud of Leaves. Zell smiled with a perfect set of white teeth and 2 long lower tusks. He wasn't the perfect physical example of his clan, not the epitome of strength or physique or the most powerful druid. He did serve a purpose. For the first gnarled root that many had seen, he served to remind the world that the wooden eyes were watching. Oh, this is so good. Zell smacked Bradus on the side of the face hard with the head of his staff. The sound echoed in the air, a perfect strike shattering teeth and bone. Stunned, the tall man stumbled back, eyes glazed. You know better than to drop your guard, boy. Zell rolled his big shoulders. He wasn't muscular. He ate too much for that to be the case. But he was bearishly large for his short height. And strong. Ridiculously so after years of labor. That strike alone sent a grown man sprawling. Want to try that again? The gang faltered as their leader spat out teeth and curses in equal measure. Zell felt for a moment that he overestimated these thugs, but they recovered fast enough with a frothy rage to rival a stampede of boars. Zell had no delusions that he could defeat 6 men. The numbers game tended to even get to the best of fighters, and he had counted himself as modestly decent in terms of actual combat. They had, however, chosen to rough him up close to his home. They didn't realize that it held some of the best weapons in his arsenal. Right now, his magic needed to be enough. He jabbed his staff into the ground. I may need your help again, Tia. Quircon? Quircon wasn't only a staff, it was a conduit for his magic. It was his rune, his individual gift of aether. Quircon. Alright, we'll go with that. It was his rune, his individual gift of aether that all men and women in the world of Dagarth possessed. With his magic, Zell rooted the weapon into the ground, feeding the energy to grow. The tree's limbs caught the first man by surprise, snaking up one leg and coiling up his body like a snake about to feast. It then spread sideways to the other men, quickly leaping from one person to the next until more than half the group stood ensnared. One smarter man and Bradis managed to avoid the fate. They ran to the side, slipping just outside the slow-moving roots. Don't matter, keep moving. In a hand-to-hand fight without even his sword, he knew he had no chance. They quickly shortened the gap, slipping through the attacking roots with ease. Zell gritted his teeth, stepping back and sending a root snapping upward. It missed. They were too fast. He wasn't. Even with a sword, he wasn't the most mobile fighter. They swung their clubs at him from both sides. Their blows served no rhyme or reason, just angry strikes. Zell focused his magic inward, the vines of his tree rearing and blocking their attacks with hollow thuds. He slipped through the two attacking men, trying to whip the roots underneath their feet. Quircon's magic took a lot more effort than he expected after a long day of work. As a result, it drained the reserves of aether, the magical energy within him, he had left, and the root went limp before they tripped their targets. Not good. Radis reared up a spell of his own with his right hand. With his left, he swung down on Zell's head with his club. Out of pure instinct and a little fear, Zell dodged the weapon first, only to be blasted back by a burst of lightning. He felt himself tumble back a few feet in the dirt, stopping when his back hit a light post. He tried to stand. Nothing. An electric rune, not strong enough to burn, Zell squinted as he tried to move again. Orange static crackled against his body. A stunning spell. Fueling to his legs came a bit too late. Brandis and his other men were on him in seconds, slamming their target with their torn bows. Pain flared up everywhere, hit after hit. Zell tried to move to overpower them. Nothing came. All he could do was take the pain as they struck him. He curled into a ball. It's happening again. After all that talk, it's happening again. Some things never change. You can only fake it for so long. Zell withdrew deep into himself for his magic, feeling the aether deep in his body as they hit him. Old memories surfaced. Memories of a skinnier, sicker Zelnath in a dark alley, blood spewing from the back of his head. This time it came with an even older memory of a river halfway across the world. That memory brought the aether to the surface. No. He wasn't that man anymore, that boy, that small pup cowering and crying after they beat him to near death. Born without a backbone, the words echoed again. I think shit's about to get fucked up, y'all. He felt anger beyond control, not even the hot-blooded kind that his people were known for. His anger was cold like a frozen lake in winter, or the first flakes of snow on the wind. In that moment he felt nothing. No pity, no fear, no fatigue, no love, no pain, only ice in his heart. He pressed his hand on the ground, feeling the dirt underneath. A primal energy soaked through his fingers as he raked his nails against the cobblestone. Wooden thorns jetted from the ground in his cold anger, spiking clean through Bradis's leather chest armor and clean through the other fellow's shoulder, bone and all. They twisted up in the air, screaming in pain. Zell wobbled to his feet to see that brown roots and green vines blanketed a large portion of the rugged way. A surge, some sort of magical adrenaline. Bradis dangled helplessly by his legs, bleeding from an open wound in his chest. Kel had half a mind to kill them, all of them. This isn't a game, Kel said sorry, I keep reading it as a K, Zell said in a cold voice. Quircon's magic subsided. His staff slithered back to its master. Even with his expended magic, the roots and the vines would stay for a good few minutes. The fresh green vines and the ancient brown roots twisted against their prey, choking all 6 men now in their embrace. Coughing, gasping, and scratching against wood filled the silent street. It's been a long day, Zell said with a little warmth creeping back in his voice. I'll get to the point. I poisoned you. I will kill you and watch you die horribly. I'm tired and hungry. So tell me, is this worth dying for, mate? What's happening out here? The door of the nearby tavern opened. Sounds of the loot, the mandola, and drunk cheers briefly escaped before a few people stepped out and closed the door. The first shadow, lithe and sharp, dispatched the ensnared men with chops in the neck, knocking them unconscious. Oh, right. Oh, my God. I thought they were cutting their heads off. Hi, Deston. Well, it's all right. We're all loving it. So it's amazing, and I'm about to buy it. Knocking them unconscious. She snapped her fingers, igniting a small lantern on her side. The small woman in black silks assessed the situation with the ease of a person looking over ledgers. Her brown eyes shifted from a brief flicker of confusion to perfect clarity in a second. She didn't bother to ask. She walked up to Braddis. Having trouble, are we? You could have knocked, Zell. We're just in the first few songs. Suppose it's our fault for not hearing this commotion. The second shadow leaped from the doorstep, it too lean and sharp. His height was impressive, with quite a few heads on both the woman and Zell. He stepped past each of the unconscious bodies with exaggerated carefulness. His blue eyes narrowed, looking at the roots and vines. His smile grew wider. Suppose your magic has its uses, but you really need to work on your weapon skills. Maybe then you won't wake the entire neighborhood up. I told you to bring your sword with you, always. You won't listen. Char. What? Nelia, the shadowy woman, pinched her nose. Not the time. And I know you're not talking about not listening. Nelia and Char stood waiting for a response. Zell didn't trust his mouth. In this state, it was tricky to know when it ended. No smell of blood? Check. Feeling of sore limbs? Again. Check. Mind clear but a little slower? Check. This was a light berserk in comparison to others he experienced. His recently recovering health brought these berserks on, like a healthy orc of his age. It's all good. Because his book is amazing, Nathan, that's why. And he's the writer of this book. Sorry, my face has just decided to do its thing. Sinus headaches, y'all. I need to go take my meds in a sec. He still wasn't great at controlling them yet. Taking a deep breath again, he shook his head clear from the anger and the temptations of slaughter. He was better than a bloodbath. With a simple wave of his hand, the plants retreated into the dirt, leaving the men unconscious, aside from Braddis, on the ground. Who's on duty today? It's me, Yori, and Romaniv. Isaac and Amelina already went home for tonight, Char nodded, counting them again. Why? Can you ask them to take these men inside, if you don't mind? I'm really tired and I haven't had dinner yet. So, we're just going to kidnap a whole group of thugs? That's not suspicious at all, Char laughed. We could kill them, Nelia remarked. Okay, I like her a lot. Then we have to get rid of the bodies, and the city guard doesn't like that kind of thing. Nelia nodded in reluctant agreement. It's tempting, though. It would just be easier. Zell made eye contact with Braddis when he said it. You don't want that, do you, mate? The green fever had already begun its work. Zell saw the beads of sweat pouring from Braddis's brow and the small seizures that threatened every move. Within 2 weeks, the green meant death. During that time, it stole pieces from you, starting with your sight and working its way through all your senses. Each day became more and more painful. Aren't you glad that I'm a healer now? You will be by tonight. Zell slapped the man's face with the genuine good-naturedness like one would do with an old friend. I'll explain in the morning. Bring him in and give him the best rooms on the house, my treat. I'm too hungry to deal with it now. Nelia smiled and shrugged. When are you not? But all right. This was a standard night for the members of the Black Wind Company. Dude! Okay, yeah, so, like, a couple of weeks ago, would have been about a month ago now, that's like the perfect ending to you. I'm not going to try and embarrass myself by dabbing on stream. To all the new people just tuning in, that was Tavern by Deston J. Munden. It's currently available for sale. I'll be putting for sale links in the video when it finishes up. Yeah, thank you very much. I do my best, and I think you might have missed it. I've actually got like a sinus headache, like all under here, and a possible sinus infection. So I'm struggling a little bit today, and I've got to go and have my meds soon and my cold tea. Dude, you're fucking world building, yo. So today, right, I'm redoing. It's Curacon. Is that better? It'll go away. It's because I got sick for ages. So I'm redoing this bookshelf today. So it's going to look a little different the next time I stream. I got some new bookshelves. For the first time in my life, I have new fucking furniture. And I'm going to be buying paperback copies of all the books that I've ever read on this show to have on that shelf. So is Tavern available as a paperback? Because if it is, it's going up there. So I'm really, really excited. Mr. Oliver, if you're still in chat as well, I will be buying your book as well. The Last Marines. And then we get to see that beautiful, beautiful cover. I love all of your covers, actually. Oh. Yes. Okay. Now I'm even more excited. So I love that the one episode I decided to do on YouTube, you guys all have pretty covers, and I don't have anywhere to fucking put them. I'm an idiot. It's funny listening to Renee reading is making me want to write. Do it. Seriously, Nathan. Get on it. Okay. Before my face evacuates, I am going to start The Last Marines as well. Let's check how long it is and see if I need more of a break. Because otherwise I tend to really stumble. Oh, you beautiful thing, Mr. Oliver. It's shorter than the others, which is good because I can feel it. So glamorous. One of us. Right. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes, you so should, Adam. And how you doing, dude? I miss you, and I miss the whole Jottify crew. Like, so back in the day, there was a writing website called Jottify. It was the fucking bomb, right? We all became this really tight-knit group. This is around 2011. And we all became this really tight-knit group. And then overnight, the site got taken down. And we lost years of work and comments and message threads. And the ones who have managed to stay in contact, we've all managed to find each other, kind of. So I really miss Jottify, and you should absolutely 100% send me a poem because I fucking loved your poems, dude. I remember it was 8 years ago, and I fucking remember your writing. So this is why I decided to stream on YouTube, because I know a lot more people know YouTube and have a YouTube account than people do for Twitch. So I might stream tonight, maybe. Ooh. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. I'd be rather interested to try some poetry. Oh, yeah, do it. Do it. Sorry, I'm like tucking up my pants because I'm a bit warm, but I don't want to take my jacket off. That's what these splotches are. It's also because I'm not at 100%. I think I'm about 65% at the moment. It's for emphasis, Nathan. Oh, thank you, Deston. I'm so excited. Look at all the pretty copies that I have. I had to like put them around as a bit of a set today. Those are the only ones that I have left. So they've got to go out to my street team next. So it's really exciting. November's coming up really fucking fast. What genre do you want to write? I recommend fantasy, Nathan, because fantasy is fucking cool to write. Real authors lift each other up. Fuck yeah, Tia. Fuck yeah, we do. And that's why I do this whole show, is because A, I love reading other people's writings. 2, a lot of people have said that just hearing the narration gets them really inspired to keep working on whatever it is. And 3, I really want to practice this shit. So thank you guys so much for letting me practice on your stuff. It really makes a whole big difference, because otherwise I'd just be reading my own shit and then I don't know if it's any good and blah, blah, blah. Ooh, Nathan, you could totally do that, my buddy. Absolutely, 100%. Okay. Just going to have a slight moment. Can I just mute this real quick? Destin, you're seriously a bro. Thank you so much. And Tia, thank you so much for hanging out and being active and helping me with some pronunciations. I really, really appreciate it, my dude. Okay. Yes. We're all fantasy lovers here. Fantasy sci-fi. Like, yes. All right. Let's get it down. All right. Mr. Oliver, are you ready? This is The Last Marines, Chapter 1. Mr. Google PDF, why are you opening things at the very bottom? Now I've read all the spoilers. No, I haven't. Yes, Nathan. Yeah. Do it, dude. Let me know how you go. I'll be asking you about. All right, I'll do my best. Here we go. This is The Last Marines by Lawrence N. Oliver, Chapter 1. No, Ben Corbin didn't recognize his own voice. What had come out was more exhaled air and hoarse grunt than a word. His mouth was as dry as a New Gobi afternoon, and his throat felt like he'd swallowed a handful of sand. He was awake now. His heart raced. He took a deep breath and focused on slowing it. Memories played out in a nightmare over and over. There were holes, and he couldn't be sure of it all, but it was almost always the same. The slow flashing of the dull red emergency lights, the ship's decks lined with the dead and dying, and those bloody mouth things that were ripping them open. Okay. The aliens had moved so fast he wasn't sure if he was remembering it right. The screams, the panic, all in broken flashes like corrupted data on run back. The running firefight to the escape pods, but they'd all been launched. Just him and Sam, then. They had to make it to the bridge deck, make a stand there, control the environmental systems, the bridge crew, all dead. The launch, if they could just get to the captain's launch. Couldn't remember anything after the bridge. Not alone. Commander Ogren, this is Dr. Adler. Please respond, a woman's voice. Corbin tried inclining his head to see who'd spoken, but he couldn't move. Ogren here. Send it, a deep male voice answered. He's awake, Commander. I'm en route. The hell am I? Corbin asked with some difficulty. His voice was more exhaled air and hoarse grunt than coherent words. Sam, where's Sam? The pain in his throat was sharp when he spoke and throbbed when he didn't. His vision was blurry and he could only see out of one eye. He felt the pressure of bandages around his head and could make out the edge of one crossing the bridge of his nose. Near as he could figure, he was on his back in a medical bay. Grey walls, bright lights, the steady beeping and whirring of equipment. It smelled too clean to be the Osama. And of course, there was this doctor lady. Just take it easy now, Mr. Corbin. Her voice was closer. You're experiencing severe stasis shock amongst other things, but you're safe now. I said, where's Sam? He asked between dry coughs. Sam Garrett? His voice was hoarse, but he was slurring his words. Water, he said more than asked. Try to stay calm. Becoming overly agitated will almost certainly complicate your condition. This Dr. Adler said in that sorry. This is tense already, right? Yeah. This Dr. Adler said in that annoying cadence of a too often used professional phrase, the kind that requires little or no thought to form, just one of those insert name here generics. I can't move. Why can't I move? He broke off, the words caught in his throat. Another deep breath as he tried to swallow, but his mouth was too dry. He tried again to lift his head to see who he was speaking to, but only pain answered the call. You've sustained injuries as a result of acute environmental exposure and stasis shock. You will need surgery to repair the damage. You can't move from the chest down because I administered a paralytic before I revived you to prevent you from injuring yourself further. As she spoke, Dr. Adler moved into view. Some kind of interactive hologram activated over her forearm, just as his bed began to incline slightly. He wasn't completely sitting up, but it was certainly better than being laid out on his back. The adjustment made him feel slightly less vulnerable. She retrieved a clear canister from somewhere out of his sightline and put its drinking tube to his lips. It's water. He hesitated a second, then drank deeply. Too much, too fast. He spat most of the liquid back out as he was taken over by another coughing fit. This one was harder, and pain shot through his body. Not so much just yet. She waited for the coughing to pass and offered the water again. Small sips. His vision had cleared a little, and he could make out her light brown hair, pulled back in a ponytail. She wasn't tall and wore the white lab coat of medical personnel almost everywhere. This one had a big red cross on her sleeve that covered most of her upper arm with a chevron at each point. Not like the red crosses he recognized in relation to medical personnel. Not even on all sides, more like the long religious kind. Maybe this was one of those Mormon colony ships he'd heard about. Under the lab coat she wore some kind of uniform, or maybe a crew's coveralls. He couldn't see clearly enough to make out the insignias on the collars, but even if he could, he probably wouldn't recognize them. It seemed like every asshole with a starship had his own uniforms these days. Pray, it sounds really familiar to you. Remind me. Every asshole with his own starship had his own uniforms. My business partner, Sam Garrett, of Corbin Garrett Recovery out of Alpha City, he managed to say before taking another sip. Mr. Corbin, she trailed off, mouth open as if she wasn't sure what to say. Check the damn manifest. Corbin Garrett Recovery. Both of our idents are there. He felt like he was drifting, like he might pass out. Mr. Garrett is safe for the time being. He's being treated on Mars. A new voice. Someone else was in the room now. The voice from the comm system, maybe? Corbin couldn't be sure. He hadn't seen him come in, but the doctor had been blocking most of his view from the door. This new man couldn't have been there long. "Commander," Dr. Adler said with a nod. She stepped aside to make room for him at Corbin's bedside. A tall man with dark hair and matching complexion moved into Corbin's sight and stood at the opposite end of the gurney. "My name is Ogren, Commander Ogren." I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of this correctly. Commander Ogren was wearing another unrecognizable uniform. It had one of those preacher's collars with insignias on either side. "Looks official," Corbin thought dismissively. Maybe they weren't Mormons then. Maybe just another well-to-do corporate militia or some crap like that. They're always popping up, thinking they had the right to police the international space around asteroids they were mining. As big as some of them were, as big as some of them were, they might have qualified as settlements, but they weren't permanent. It might take a few decades to tap out one of the bigger rocks, but it was still just temporary. Mars and the Moon were the only legitimate colonies. No terraforming, no projected sustainability, no settlement. Still didn't stop some folks from striking out there on their own. There were outposts and abandoned stations scattered across the system. Some took hold, made a go of it, but most failed. Hang on, sorry. It's all good. Stupid face. The doctor plucked the hollow image from above the device on her arm and flicked her fingers to expand it. She looked up and over her shoulder, making eye contact with the newcomer while pointing something out on the hollow image. "You're aboard the Commonwealth of Nations cruiser Emerus," he said, nodding in acknowledgement to the doctor. "Aside from yourself and Mr. Garrett, no other passengers or crew of the ship you were on, the United Colonial Freighter Osama, were recovered. We're patching her up to be towed back to a secure port for a more extensive investigation." Commonwealth. This guy said it like it was supposed to mean something to Corbin. "I don't know any damn Commonwealth. What the hell are you all talking about? I need a sending unit. I need to speak to the colonial authorities." The Commonwealth? Ogren might have sounded surprised, but it was hard to tell. "Well, that is a very long story." He glanced at the doctor's hologram again. "When you're up to it, I'll explain. I also have a few questions I need answered, but you should rest. All you need to know right now is that you're safe, and those who attacked you have long since ceased to be a threat." "Those things slaughtered them, the crew and the passengers. Listen to me." Corbin's voice caught again, and again the doctor produced the water canister. He took a couple of sips and cleared his throat. "These things, they weren't humans, they were aliens," Corbin's voice cracked. "I know it sounds crazy, but it wasn't raiders or rebel holdouts, damn it. They were aliens." He waited for a reaction, but none came. "I don't mean refugees from an unregistered settlement without a work ident. I mean big fucking aliens." "It's all right, Mr. Corbin, we're aware," Ogren said. "I know how it sounds. I'm not nuts. Hell, check the damn logs." Reflexively, he tried to sit up completely. Pain shot through him again and everything went black. "Shit," Corbin groaned through clenched teeth. I can't see, damn it." "The stress is causing your blood pressure to rise and the swelling in your brain to increase, putting pressure on the optic nerve. It should be temporary, but you have to calm down. Breathe slowly and deeply through your nose." "What the hell do you mean, should be temporary?" No one responded. Corbin cursed, then tried again to make them understand. "We need to leave here. We've got to contact the colonial authority. It's not safe. You haven't seen them. You don't know." "All right, Commander, you've seen his scans, his vitals, and his agitated state," said Dr. Adler. "He's obviously in no condition to answer anyone's questions. He needs time in the tank. We're only making things worse. This is exactly why I didn't want him conscious at this point. We're looking at a couple of weeks in the tank at least, and twice that long after the surgeries." "What surgeries?" Corbin demanded. Some annoying alarm began to sound from somewhere in the room. "Mr. Corbin, you're safe now. We will answer all of your questions as soon as you're stronger. I'm going to give you something to help you sleep now." Corbin strained against the strong urge to cough. "I don't want to sleep. I need to call my wife, damn it. Tell her I'm not dead. Warn her. You can't lock me down. People have to be warned." He felt himself fading. He had to make them understand. The coughing won out in the end as he felt something wet on his chin. He recognized the coppery taste in his mouth, blood. The beeping got louder and more urgent until the sedative finally took hold. He drifted back into nothingness, to the sounds of frantic voices shouting orders and that damn beeping. Ogren was waiting outside Corbin's medical suite when Adler emerged, her appearance somewhat ruffled. "How is he, Doctor?" Ogren asked. "Relatively stable, considering." Good. You were right, of course. I shouldn't have insisted you revive him. Orders, you understand." Adler didn't respond. She was concentrating on her E-band interface. Doctor, would it be possible to stabilize him enough in this current condition to perform the nanosurgery and the necessary augmentations now rather than later, without having to put him in the tank first? With full nano immersion and simultaneous regeneration, of course. The doctor continued to manipulate icons and remote interfaces on the hollow image as she absently considered the question. Well, physically, yes, she said with a shrug. As long as we can safely induce coma again, he should remain stable enough for major surgery in the tank. She'd been distracted at first, but as Adler considered the question as much as her response, she became a little concerned. Ogren was in charge of this mission. He answered to Fleet Com and the LDC as far as she'd been told. A fleet officer herself at one time, she knew Intel didn't often ask questions without an agenda. She'd been distracted. She would have to be more careful in the future. She's a sneaky bitch. I like her. I like Dr. Adler a lot. She knew he would be scrutinizing her responses and micro-expressions. He was probably even putting it all on glass. I don't really see how that's relevant, though. Adler flicked her fingers, expanding the transparent blue hologram into a larger, free-floating image between them. Presumably so she could use both hands to interface, but really, she just didn't know where this conversation was going, and felt more comfortable with a buffer of sorts between them. In his current state, I can't possibly see putting him through the stress of debriefing him, much less getting his consent for the procedures. I think you've just seen that for yourself. We had to gel suture a dermal patch over the left side of his face just so he could speak. Ugh. He needs to heal if he's going to be able to handle the stress without stroking out, not to mention trying to explain to him what else will be necessary to more completely repair his body. You misunderstand. Ogren wandered around the hollow image, coming to rest beside Adler as he pretended to survey the floating data with her. Adler resisted recoiling at his proximity. It was a power move, and they both knew it. I have no intention of asking you to revive him again, not at the risk of losing him. He's too important right now. Circumstances and time constraints call for unconventional methods. We don't have the time to let him float around for 2 weeks, gently break the news to him and hold his hand while he gets his head around it. You know better than anyone that lengthy post-surgical recovery time we're looking at. Normally she would have balked at that, but she knew better than to be surprised. The Commonwealth always came first. When necessary, the rights of anyone can and would be suspended in order to protect it. Not only her patients' rights, but hers as well if it came to that. Performing the augmentations without his knowledge, while not physically damaging, may result in undue resentment and a much lengthier recovery. His mental state is a factor. It's rare, but he may even reject the nanites themselves. Ogren didn't respond to that. Her words didn't appear to be making much of an impression. This is what I do. I've seen it before, time after time in emergency trauma cases. Even though next of kin have consented, even though the subject may have consented themselves at some point via donor or recipient declarations, some people refuse to accept treatment and it takes them much longer to adjust. Cybernetic augmentations of this kind are commonplace to us. Mr. Corbin doesn't even know they exist at this level, to say nothing for the shock of what else he has to come to terms with. I strongly object to this course of action, Commander. She changed the suspended image to a full-body scan of Corbin. It will take time, but if we put him in a tank now, we might be able to save most of the shoulder, some of the ribs, and his left clavicle before we repair the tissue damage. She indicated those areas on the body scan as she spoke. The lung and eye, among other things, will, of course, have to be flash cloned, but still, it's something. When he's well enough and able to comprehend, we can explain the augmentations that are available. Once he's had some time to adjust, I seriously doubt he will object. Though Dr. Adler felt her point was plainly made, she had a sinking suspicion that Ogren's mind, or rather the legislate's, was made up. Again, time is a major factor. She felt herself clench her teeth as he continued, but quickly relaxed her jaw again. If possible, we need to avoid 2 separate and lengthy rounds of reconstructive treatment in the tank. If the augmentations can be performed in conjunction with the necessary surgeries to repair the trauma, and if it can be done safely, that should significantly decrease his time in the tank. 2 dog rats with 1 bolt, so to speak. Excuse me. As far as Mr. Corbin's mental condition is concerned, the Legislative Defense Council, after having evaluated his records and per your recommendation, is sending a medical health team. I've been assured they have a great deal of experience in the field, and with your help, the LDC is confident he can manage the transition. With all due respect, Commander, what are they basing that on? An M-cell of old colonial government files, some vague statistical data, and his service record. I apologize, Doctor, but that is the assessment the LDC made. I didn't ask them or Fleetcom to justify it. I won't violate my patient's rights for the sake of political expediency. Nor would I ask you to, not without good reason, Ogren sighed, moving to the other side of the hollow image again. Perhaps I should have started with this. You need to know that the Legislative Defense Council has authorized a full mil-spec upgrade. Not just the arm, but the eye, shoulder, ribs, collarbone, all of it, including organine reinforcement of the spine and torso. Adler didn't know what to say. She was, admittedly, shocked. That's right, Doctor. Kneecap to skull, as well as a 30% increase in capacity for the cloned lung. That will make most of the conventional repairs you had in mind a moot point anyway. You will have full access to any and all of the most current mil-spec profiles you may not already be familiar with, full run of your own medical section and any other resources you may need. She couldn't hide the surprise on her face as she completely minimized the hollow image between them. Why was I not informed of this earlier? Hell, why don't we just org-9 it all? In fact, with those reinforcements you're talking about, a full skeletal reinforcement may eventually be necessary anyway. It's kind of like how you gotta reinforce the chassis on a car if you put a new engine in it. That's what I'm figuring anyway. Oh gosh, this is getting so much worse. It's a fairly recent development, and frankly, due to the nature of this operation, it's need-to-know information. However, I defer to you if you believe more extensive augmentation is called for. Well, I'd be the one who most needed to know, don't you think? She huffed. I'd have to completely rewrite his treatment plan and surgical protocols. She reopened her E-band holo, quickly scrolling and shifting information on its interface. Is this even legal? I mean, without his consent. I understand your concerns, but I need to know if he can survive the more extensive augmentation procedures as you repair the other damage to his body. Well, yes, but that wasn't really my point. I realized that, Ogren admitted. And as I said, it's a fairly recent development, but so far legal concurs with the decision. Corbin, having no known next of kin that have responded and considering his previous military service and status as a stasis recovery, leaves consent in the hands of the Commonwealth. Regardless, consent is not your concern. Ogren paused for a moment to let that sink in. Dr. Adler, I realize you're no longer an active duty member of the Commonwealth Defense Services. You are, however, one of the best at what you do. That is why the Legislate requested your help. We need this man alive, cooperative, and moving under his own power as soon as possible without compromising security. Adler wondered what else he felt she didn't need to know yet, and just how much he knew himself. Ogren continued. I don't have to tell you that his living could mean strengthening the Alliance. At least, that is our goal in this. That being the case, I'm sure you realize his life will be in danger. The timeline and these upgrades, while politically expedient, may also make the difference in his survival. It isn't pretty, and it isn't fair, but that's where we're at. She didn't answer immediately. She turned from Ogren, gazing through the door at Corbin's sedated form. He was gaunt, pale, and looked half dead as it was. She looked to the sentry droid floating silently in the corner, as if to make sure it was paying attention. It gave her a nod in response to her silent challenge. Doctor? Ogren began when she didn't respond. I have a holocon in 30 with the LDC and Fleetcom. I cannot, for the time being at least, fill in all the gaps for you regarding this mission. I myself don't even know the full extent of the Legislate's plans for Mr. Corbin. I ask you to trust me when I say that even though the LDC's orders are in the interest of the Commonwealth and may seem drastic, they are in Mr. Corbin's best interest as well. I understand your concerns, and rest assured all official authorizations have been sent to your personal ComNet hub and will be filed with Commonwealth Practitioners Hub on Earth. You can't be held liable for any treatment or medical procedures authorized by the Legislate or Fleetcom regarding Mr. Corbin. That's not what I meant, Dr. Adler said with a small sigh. She was growing tired of this conversation. I'm not concerned with my personal liability. I'm concerned with the rights and overall well-being of my patient. I've already dedicated quite a bit of time to Mr. Corbin's treatment plan that will now have to be extensively revised. It isn't just an ethical question. His mental state and willingness to accept change are real factors. As you said, Commander, the Legislate needs his cooperation. Well, I can only imagine it will be more difficult to obtain after we've performed these procedures without his consent. The Legislate and Fleet Command have considered that, Ogren said. Let me worry about his cooperation. I need you to get him on his feet and keep him healthy. I know you realize how important his well-being could be for the people of the Commonwealth. The expansion of this alliance could save many lives. I understand what's at stake. Do we have an understanding then, Doctor? More to the point, can I assure the LDC and Fleet Command of your full cooperation? She considered it for a moment, but really she'd already made her choice. Besides, if not her, then it would be someone else. Perhaps someone with lesser skills. I understand. And I'll comply with the Legislate's mandate with reservations. If my medical opinion is to be completely overridden repeatedly, then I can't be responsible if the outcome is less than optimal. Very good, doctor. Thank you. I wasn't finished. Adler crossed her arms. I need you to know that if this mandate had been a serious risk to my patient's physical health, I would not have agreed to proceed. That is me drawing a line, Commander. We are dangerously close to that line as it is. If you plan to ask me to cross it in the future, you'll need to find another doctor to treat him. I don't believe that will be necessary. Your reservations will be documented, Doctor. Keep me updated on his progress and your surgical schedule. Use the ship's secure hub to access any information you may need on his current mil-spec augmentations. I don't have the ship's secure hub clearance, Commander. Yes, Doctor, you do. See the deck officer at the main security stations for your codes. With that, Ogren turned and headed for the corridor hatch, leaving the Doctor to her work. Oh my god! Okay. I didn't know I could pronounce that many medical words, so that was interesting. I'm so sorry. I can't read your messages while I'm reading. I can see them popping up, but I don't know what they're saying. Hold up. Let me just get some music back in. There we go. Oh, okay, just a second. I love that dialogue. That to me was something out of a freaking movie. I could see it in my head like a movie. Oh, okay, I'm going to go back over your messages now. Very uncomfortable, similar to how this book makes you feel when it starts. Or is that Prey? Is that a movie or a book tier? I would definitely listen to you do an audiobook. Your narration's so clean. Oh, Deston, thank you. Oh my god, you guys are all too sweet. Has anyone ever read any books that have two Earth-like planets in a relationship like Earth and the Moon? I think that's a fairly common thing, Nathan. Oh my god, you guys. Oh, Paradox, you came back in. I think you're probably gone now. But thank you so much for popping back in. Pretty much like the chassis thing. That's just what I thought, like you pile all these augmentations on someone and you need to like reinforce their spine and shit. Which is like, it totally makes sense to me. It's something that's already having to be done in the auto industry. So, I mean, yeah. Tell us about your research for this, Mr. Oliver. How much research did just that first chapter take? This dialogue's so well with the narration. It's perfect. Oh, Deston, you're too nice. Oh, thank you, Mr. Oliver. Thank you. Oh my gosh. You guys are all way too sweet, by the way. Thank you so much for joining me on this channel today. Because I really wasn't sure if this YouTube thing was gonna work. So it's really, really nice to like have you guys chatting and helping me out. Tia, thank you so much for the help with the pronunciations. Is what normal? No, I don't remember what I said. Why aren't you playing songs? Okay. It was very, very helpful. Oh man. I'm kind of just like pretty much just bullshitted my way through it. Watched a lot of ER as a kid. Dude, I bought it. I legitimately thought that was going to be hours and hours of research. Oh, that's so good. Destin, you need people like Tia on your side. And I think he's gone now because I think he's gone back to work. But Dave was in chat as well, and he was like mega excited. And he was originally the one that he sent me this message one day, and he was like, "Oh my god, I'm reading the most amazing book right now." And I was like, "Tell me about it, tell me about it, tell me about it." And he did, and then I was like, "Dude, that sounds fucking rad. Who's the author?" And he sent me your name, so I immediately looked you up on Twitter and added you and like followed you. And Tavern's been on my to-read list for ages now, but I'm beta reading a bunch of other stuff. But no, I just really want to fucking read it. Can I please just quit my full-time job so I can read all day? Because that would be my ideal. Two Earths? Well, Nathan, I think just planets, like colonized planets in general, are fairly common in sci-fi. I would recommend reading a whole bunch of sci-fi to get some ideas, but just write down anything that comes to you in like a notebook, and then you'll be able to thread all the ideas together, and that's basically your main plot. Oh. Friends with Deston. Friends with Tavern. you're just you're just around for the books, aren't you, Tia? I've been friends with Tavern or Deston since we were 13, like 15 years, and it's been an incredible journey to see him grow as an author. I'm like crying to see him so successful. This show has a funny way of like making me tear up as well. Plus, I'm like a sympathy cry. So when people say that they are crying at something, I'm just gone. I'd love to quit my job. Oh, and write all day too, but mainly just quit my job. Let's just like, we'll set up like a small island, and I have not thought this out. And we're just going to sit there and read and write all day and lay on a beach and play Mountain Blade products. I do want to play Mountain Blade. I may stream tonight, actually. We do a little Saturday night sneaky stream because I haven't done that for ages. And, oh my God, tomorrow morning, I am interviewing W.B. Welch, who is the author of Blood Drops and The Last Letter. We're going to both be live on my Twitch channel. Nathan, it will be back. It will be back. Oh my God, look at this. Is just going. This is worse. Okay. I'm going to be interviewing W.B. Welch tomorrow. Well, for me, it's tomorrow. For the Americans, it'll be tomorrow. Hang on, let me work it out. It's major freaky, Deston. I'm going to read some of these stories tonight to get ready for the interview, but they're all little horror stories. This book smells so good. It smells like incense and stuff. She sent me a bunch of like really cool shit to get ready for the interview. Like I've got a little necklace with like a blood drop on it. So it's going to be really cool. Excuse me. Yeah, so we're both going to be live on my Twitch channel. We're going to be chatting via Skype. You guys are going to be able to ask questions, and it's just going to be really, really cool. I haven't interviewed someone live before, so I'm really excited for that. That will be on my Twitch channel, which is... If you want to go over and make a Twitch account to get ready for it, that is my channel. I don't know if that'll hyperlink in chat, but that's where it will be held. And for me, it's 11 a.m. on the 21st. So for you guys, I think that's 8 p.m. Central Time. Does that sound about right? I'll Google it. Hang on. Hang on, blood drops. Yeah. So 11 a.m. AEST to CT. Does that sound right? 9 p.m. in Texas. I've already followed you on Twitch because I live on Twitch, and I think that sounds about right in time. Dude, that's fucking awesome. Do you ever stream? Yeah. No, products, you don't have to make another channel. That's fine. You can keep your one that you've got now. It is, yes, it'll be 8 p.m. Saturday night for you guys, if that makes sense. And I may go live on there tonight, so if you're up really early, you may actually catch the Mountain Blade stream, because I'm so keen to play some Mountain Blade. I have the ability to stream, but I'm way too nervous. Dude, just find a game that you love and then just play the game. And your love for that game comes across. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. It is absolutely terrifying streaming for the first couple of times, but you do get used to it. I agree, Tia. I completely agree. And I'm always encouraging people to like get out there and try new things. And it can be scary, but it's so worth it, because if I hadn't started streaming for the first time, I wouldn't have met like any of you guys. I wouldn't be doing this show. Listen to Paradox. She streams. The worst nerves I've ever had for streaming would have been the first ever episode I did of One Chapter Wonder. So I did it on Twitch, and I had everything ready to go. I don't know what the fuck's going on here, seriously. I had everything ready to go, and I was just checking all of my tools and everything while I was live, but I was in my stream setting up screen. And I was reading a chapter from The Painted Man by Peter V. Brett, who is one of my all-time favorite authors and just an all-round generally cool guy. I just happened to check like who was sitting in chat just before I went live. And Mr. Peter V. Brett was sitting in my fucking chat. And I just like, dude, I nearly vommed, hey. Like, yeah, it was not pretty, but I did it. And I went live. And if you watch the first episode of One Chapter Wonder, when I go live, I'm like this. I'm just like shaken like a jelly. And this is like, I get this like patchy stuff immediately. Hardcore Senpai. Yeah. It was like that. It was like, Nathan, do you remember the first chapter I ever read on this show? From the really pretty little hardback that I had? Do I still fucking have it? Hang on. Oh, it's on the other side of the room. Yeah, the author of that was sitting there, and he's like one of my favorite authors of all time, and he was like in chat that day. And it was just terrifying. La, 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 la. It's all about Dungeons and Dragons all day long tomorrow with my 5 brothers. We've never streamed it before. Are you streaming it? Are you seriously streaming it? Because, dude, drop your fucking Twitch name or wherever you're going to be streaming it, because I need to watch that shit. Nathan, you might be able to watch the Mountain Blade thing, but it may be slightly weird. If you're up early, you might see it. Yeah, he's a fan-fucking-tastic writer, and I like binged his books. Yeah, please drop your Twitch name. Who's that director, that Mr. Robles? Thank you so much for coming back as well. I love it when people will like come back in to support other people after their reading. Like, that's just like big heart hands. There's a few people here that have books available as digital. Oh, me. I'm sorry, Nathan. I'll do a morning stream at one point. I've got some more leave, so I might take that during the week. Her Crown of Fire. I'm trying to like calm myself down. Her Crown of Fire will be an ebook on the 1st of November, but it's not released yet. Just don't look behind the curtain. These are all my paperback arcs that I have to give to my reviewers. So I'm mailing them off slowly, but postage is real fucking expensive, so I don't send too many at a time. Where are you streaming it? Or would you ever stream it? I do have a mailing list. Oh shit, I do have a mailing list. I completely forgot about it. You can find everything on my website, which is, it's like hella simple. Yeah. Why is it marked that in orange? I don't know why. My website is just reneeapril.com. And you can find the sign-up form for One Chapter Wonder on there if you guys want to put anything else in for narration. You can find links to my mailing list. You can do a quiz to see which major at the academy you should take, the academy in my book. You can see what you should study. And there's also like a bunch of links to pre-order the book as well, which supports me greatly. I'd like to sign up. I'll get on the first day and tweet the heck out of it. Dude, that's rad. Hey, Mr. Robles, if you want, I could send you a PDF copy to review if you want. Nathan, that goes for you as well. It would be a PDF though, so it'll be a file. If you guys want one to review, just let me know, okay? And we'll discuss it after stream. Because I would really like to write the 2nd and 3rd book in this series, but obviously sales need to be good. As you guys well know. I'll see if my techie brothers can stream it to YouTube. There'll be bad language and booze. Yes. I'm so fucking down for that. I'm down. You can do both? All right. You keen then, Nathan? Fuck yeah, dude. Send me on Discord, send me your email address in a private message and I'll send you a file. It will have a watermark on it though, because we've had an issue with people like uploading the PDF for free downloads for people to not buy and read before the release date. So that's just like, that's awesome. How about all the other authors in chat? Have you ever had an issue where your arcs are being sold or downloaded ahead of time? It's a horrible subject, but I'm like, I want more information on it to make sure that I can stop any leaks and that kind of thing. You've been good with that so far? I'm so glad to hear. Is Tavern a series, Deston? Is there going to be more than one in the series? I didn't know that was a thing, and now I'm in the know. Awareness. I'll tweet a pic of the last dumpster fire D&D thing we did. Yes, please. It will be? It's going to be a series? You best not be having me on, Tia. I have to ask, is your name Tyr Tyr? Is that after the god in Dungeons and Dragons? Tavern is a series that's going to be a lot more. The whole series is going to be the Dargarth Chronicles. Awesome. Yeah, but Paradox, you read. And I swear to God, you sent me some of your writing not long ago. So you are a writer. Yeah, for those who don't know, I'm pretty into Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, nice. Nathan, good on you. I'll send it to you after stream. Yeah, I'm pretty into Dungeons and Dragons. Fairly into Dungeons and Dragons. I'm the DM for my current group. And if I can manage it time-wise, I'll be starting a second group as well. Both are homebrewed campaigns, so it is a fairly big it's a fairly big time commitment for me to come up and world build these two things with a story that's, not boring or cliche. It's really cliche, but they love it. Deston and I play a game together and it's lit. Fuck yes. That's rad. Like, I feel like D&D, it brings people together. He plays an orc. That surprises no one. You know what? I was totally picking up on some fucking D&D elements in Tavern and I loved it. Oh my god. I'm not even going to buy Tavern in ebook. It's going straight to paperback for me. Whereabouts is it available for sale, Destin? Is it just Amazon? Because I'd like to support smaller sites as well. If you find something I sent you, please send it to me since I don't remember writing anything. No, Paradox, I sent you a book. Oh my god, I got that the wrong way around. I'm so sorry. Human Paladin. Yes, Nathan. I totally picked Paladin for you, actually. It's just Amazon right now, but I'm working on other places. No, I love Paladin, Nathan. Let me know when you've got the other places up, Destin, because I would really like to support like some smaller sites. Smashwords.com is really, really good. Really good royalties, and it's really easy to set up. And I found Smashwords really probably the best site that I uploaded my stuff to. Yes, I did products. That would have been a Veil of Stars, wouldn't it? Which I actually have somewhere. Oh my god. It's over there somewhere. I'm going to unpack it. Actually, when I do my bookshelves this afternoon, I'm going to do a massive book unhaul and get rid of like a whole bunch of shit. Oh, there it is. No, those are my old shitty books. You got to go talk soon. Adam, thank you so much for popping in, my dude. It was so good to see you again. I'll talk to you on Twitter, okay? Oh, man. Actually, I'm going to log off and I'm going to start doing this bookshelf thing because fuck yes, new bookshelves. I'm so excited. So I'll stop being a lazy prick and just lounging. I'm lounging. Okay. Thank you so much, Destin. I fucking loved Tavern. Dude, you're an extremely talented writer. Your world building is just amazing. Your descriptions are perfect. And as a narrator, it's really easy to pick up a good rhythm in the writing. And you have an extremely rhythmic way of writing, which makes for really, really nice narration. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Nathan, go to bed, my darling. I'll talk to you later, okay? Have a good sleep. Paradox, you have a good day too. Thank you so much for your continued support. Mr. Lawrence Oliver, Last Marines successfully creeped me the fuck out within the first page. And I have so many theories about what's going to happen. I can go into them on here, or I can just tweet them to you if you want. His world building is I'm so happy to see other people love his work. Tia, you are like the most supportive gamer, right? Yeah. I'm The Last Marines is going on my to read list. I don't know if he's still in chat, but is The Last Marines available for sale on Amazon? Hang on, I can check because they give me this information, the lovely little dears. It is on Amazon. Okay, we can buy The Last Marines. So once I go offline and I upload this video, I'm going to pop for sale links in there. I'm also going to tweet it. So Tia, if you're on Twitter, I'm at ReneeApril92. And I'll follow you back if you're on Twitter, and we can sort out where to buy all this like cool stuff from. And the first book we read today was Pomegranate by Nicole Scarano. That was the gender flipped retelling of Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus, and the story of the underworld. Which is honestly, I've read it. really cool flip on Greek mythology. And she's got this really beautiful, rustic, natural way of writing as well. And she is working on the second one at the moment. So that's currently available for sale on Amazon as well. So if you feel like supporting her, pop over to Twitter. She's tagged in all the same tweets as you guys. She's at Nicole Scarano. So, and she's mega chill and she's like a lot of fun to talk to and hang out with. So I'm going to wrap up. I absolutely freaking loved all of the readings today. Like, genuinely, I'm not even just putting this up. I fucking loved all of them. You guys are amazing. You give me such faith for some good independent reading in the future. And I expect great things from you guys. No pressure, no pressure. I'm Natasha Kane Twitter. Also, yay. Thank you so much, Tia. Oh my gosh. What a wonderful day. What a lovely start to the weekend. All right. I think this button on YouTube ends the stream. So I'm going to go get some lunch. I'll talk to you guys all later. Thank you again so much and have a good weekend, okay? Bye.